Hey, what's going on, guys? Chris here with Cali Moto TV. It's crazy bright, it's hot, but we're out at our good friends On Any Motos because we got this sweet 2025 Streetfighter V2. We're gonna ride it. Then the next video after this one releases is going to be the 2024 Streetfighter V2. We're gonna kind of compare how those two bikes feel. But first, let's go for a ride on this 25 Streetfighter V2. I want to point out this is not the S, but it does have the Termignoni exhaust on it, which I've already heard it sounds fantastic. You'll hear it as we go. But yeah, let's hop on this thing and see what she's all about. Alrighty, well, here it is, the 2025 Streetfighter V2. This one's got a little bit of a parts bin special as well. It's got the nice red Brimbos, Rizoma axle slider there, and it does have the Termignoni exhaust, which we're gonna start it up and hear that bad boy. That sounds so good. Alright. Alright. So we're in, looks like Race Evo, so it's got the tune on it. Well, right about here, you notice that the audio decided to just, stop picking up my voice, and all you hear is wind noise. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna still show the B-roll from the X5, which is honestly amazing. Try to have some of that background noise of the exhaust, and we're just gonna walk through what I was explaining while I was riding. So one of the main points that I was bringing up here initially was the riding position. As I said on the 2025 Panigale V2, you don't have a ton of room to move back. It's pretty much, you move to one spot and that's where you're at. While that riding position is still comfortable on the Panigale, it's still very comfortable on the Streetfighter. It's just, I wish there was more room to move back to the side, because it really just limits you in one spot. And it's not something that I enjoyed all that much, but again, it was a rather comfortable ride. Torque and the power delivery of this V2 is honestly something that I feel people are missing a lot of. They look at the numbers, they look at the spec sheet, and you can always say you don't ride a spec sheet, you ride what's actually there, and it gives you that feedback of what's actually going on. And I think that's what people are missing here. A lot of people really want to see those high horsepower numbers, even on a V2, and they're like, well, this isn't the same as the previous version, so it can't be nearly as good. And it's different. Let me point that out right away. It is different. The way the power and torque come on, especially for the Streetfighter, is lower and easier. What I mean by that is you need 8 to 10 grand RPM wise for the older V2 to be in a happy place. Whereas this one, 3,000 to 4,000 RPM, it is good to go at that point, and just kind of builds to that. Now, I will say that it doesn't rev as high, and because of that, you don't really get that top end. But for the V2, especially the Streetfighter, that really doesn't matter. At least from my opinion on how you would want to ride this particular Streetfighter, it's not needed to have that crazy high-end top gear and get those high miles per hour, if you will. But you're gonna get to speed limits. You're gonna get above speed limits very quickly and very easily. And I think if you go out and ride it, you're gonna see that, like, okay, this is a lot easier than the previous generation. So the ergonomics are, again, very comfortable. The rider triangle, I wish it had a little more of a point going back, but the travel from your seat to the rear sets and then from your seat to the handlebars is very relaxed and comfortable. I do think it's a little more upright. I do point out, sort of in the video, but obviously you can't hear it, is that I don't notice the wind. In most Streetfighters, there's a lot of wind hitting you, and the speeds we were going, I didn't test it on the highway, so I can't really speak to what the highway feels like. Maybe that's something I'll add to my videos. What do you guys think? You want to see highway runs? Because I'm actually pretty close to one where I demo them. So let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see some highway, not pools, I'm not racing anyone, but sort of see what the experience is riding on the highway. Let me know. But as far as the wind, it didn't really bother me as much. I didn't really even notice it. So I can't really tell you if at a high rate of speed if it's going to push you. I imagine it will, because again, there's no windscreen. What's the handling like? Well, as you watch me go through these twisties, it's easy. It changes directions effortlessly. I don't need to really wrestle it all that much. The bars being up, you have some good leverage to push and really get that side to go down and get in the turns nicely. Again, with the softer suspension, because of that, when you come out of a corner, we're on the street, we're not going crazy, but you can feel that weight shift back. And if you're really pushing it, you're gonna want something stiffer. It's just how it is. But the way it is out of the box, if you are a spirited street rider or even more so a commuter, the suspension is going to be great. It's going to be agile enough to kind of weasel your way through traffic safely. Again, we don't do hooligan stuff, but it's a very compliant chassis. It doesn't do anything crazy, and you still have that little bit of Ducati flair where there's a little bit of vibration. There's a slight twitchiness. I guess one of the benefits we can say of having audio crap out the way that it did for me is that it makes it a more concise video. I already have my thoughts together and I'm not riding and trying to pay attention to everything. So we'll get more towards the points of this video. What do I think of the 2025 Streetfighter V2? Well, it's light. You can feel how light it is. I believe it's 390-ish pounds wet, maybe with fuel. I looked at different websites. One said 390, one said 395, one said 395 without fuel. So do some research. Just know it'll be just around 400. So it's rather light. It's lighter than the previous version. The torque is much lower in the rev range. It's making it much more usable for everyday riding. People that want to commute this bike, I think, will be a fantastic commuter because it's not going to rip your arms off fast. It's really easy to maneuver, and it's simple. It feels more simplistic than previous versions of Street Fighters, and I think that lends to allowing people to want to ride them because they're not super intimidating. The handling, as I mentioned, you're going to be able to be nimble and get in and out of traffic. You're also going to have a lot of fun on the twisties. I know I did. Going around these turns, I was super confident. And not only the front end, which again was a little soft, but for a large majority of people, it's going to be perfect. The front end, you knew what it was doing, and the handlebars being wider just made it easy. The back end, you know, it was super planted. Nothing ever felt like it got out of sorts. Again, we're not going crazy on the street, but there's sometimes, like you saw, I rode through some gravel and I accelerated a little bit just to see if we could get the track control kick on. It never did, but it's super compliant, super easy to ride, and it still has that nice rumble. It's a different rumble than the previous V2s. It definitely sounds different. It feels different, but it's not in a bad way.
Okay, let me pull over the shade real quick as I tighten this down because you'll notice a little bit of flop. If I use that footage at all, we'll see, but let's look at this thing. Let's look at it. That's so nice. The proportions are nice. Some people don't like the undertail exhaust. I think it looks good, especially with the Street Fighter. Surprisingly, it just shows all the exposed piping. The front end, much like the 24 V4 Street Fighter, or 25. Now the front end, much like the 25 Street Fighter, it separates the running lights, so the unibrow is gone. It just looks fantastic.
A Super Sport, and a lot of you might be comparing these two together. I think the Super Sport is much more tame than what this V2 is, and just a little too soft. It was a good commuter bike. I actually rode one on track and it was fine, but I think the new Street Fighter V2 is a solid replacement and upgrade from that Super Sport. I know you all want to compare the new Panigale V2 to the Super Sport. I think the Street Fighter is probably closer in comfort. So if you want to try to put in comparison like the 25 and the Street Fighter, or the 25 Street Fighter and the Super Sport, think of the Street Fighter as having a much better torque band and having much sharper handling. That's how I would compare those two. But that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'm just gonna kind of keep some credits rolling where they're just riding the V2 through the canyons. You all enjoy the sounds because that's coming from the X5. If you haven't seen the X5 from Insta360, I have a discount code down below. Check it out. And if you check out, use that code because it's going to be awesome. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the comparison to the 2024 V2. I've done the exact same format because, again, that audio was garbage. And yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Have a good one.